good, boys? Hang on, let me check. Let me have a look to make sure what the stream looks like right now.
Oh no, my dog won't be in the camera.
Oh, maybe not quite. The dog is in the camera on. We can see the dog. What's good, everyone? Welcome to the show. YouTube, Twitch, we're back again. Big week, man. Big week. Lots of drama. Juicy stuff. And it's only getting juicier, actually, as it goes. So yeah, welcome, everyone. How's it going, boys?
Not gonna lie, I didn't watch a lick of the matches this week.
Absolutely fine. We can fill you in.
You can be our stemman. You can be our stemman.
Yeah. Statman Line makes the return. Actually, yeah, because we don't have Austin this week, so we need Statman Line to tell me what Nero's numbers were on the week. Have a look at those.
Oh yes, no, I did.
Because they were going to be good. They were for sure good.
Yeah,
Easy Mac dipped for the FaZe L. I think Easy Mac's having to attend some family matters, and then he's flying to the New York event kind of soon. So I think we're going to be missing Austin for a couple of weeks, but that's all good because we've got the New Zealand domination, baby.
We're here, baby.
Yeah, ready to see Scrap talk about COD. Damn right. Get Scrap on Toronto ASAP. I know that Cammy's playing well now. But Cammy's only playing well because he's got the pressure under his ass.
Has someone seen you the clip of Cammy apparently being benched? I don't think he is, but...
Yeah, I haven't seen that, but someone tweeted me, Cammy been benched, question mark, with no clip and no information. And I was like, what do you mean?
I don't think it's a thing. I think our fellow just did it jokingly, but he said it while they were scrimming Toronto Academy and Scrappy was on the team, so I was like... I don't know why anyone would take it serious.
So I could definitely clickbait it tomorrow, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I got you, bro.
That's good. I appreciate that. Thanks for the support, everyone. Fellow said he was interesting. He said he was baiting. Okay. Yeah, that's all good. But I mean, even if he said he was baiting, it's still
good content for the Rab.
It's still good content. It's still good content because they have been struggling. We will talk about them because it's a bit precarious. I can't lie. If I'm Toronto right now. I'm shitting myself a little bit. I can't lie. So, anyway, and certainly if I'm OpTic, oh my god, yeah. But at least OpTic are secured for champs, whereas Toronto, they're not actually guaranteed. It should be guaranteed, but it's not guaranteed. They need to win one more series to be safe. Anyway, we'll get into all that. Are we good to start the show, boys?
Yes, sir. Good.
Let's go. Okay, I'll do a 3, 2, 1. And we'll go. What episode, by the way, Emma? 72? It's a clean number. That is a nice number.
Do we have a tweet response?
Oh, actually, good point. Yeah, we got to get these repaired now. I'll find something. I reckon.
Yeah, I need a.
When it goes out.
Oh, I know what I'm gonna do.
You got a good one?
Yeah, I posted something. I sent a thing to Pristini before he won champs in 2019, and I think it will be funny.
Because you put yours in first if you want. I don't know if. Actually, let me just check this one in. It's just this is the standard. It's just a standard image right here. It's nothing special, but it gets the job done. Okay, yeah, Easy Mac subbed out, Crone's in. Okay, everyone, we're getting ready to go. It's 3, 2, 1 time. Let me get the topics up over here. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, tacticalrab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to episode 72 of the Breaking Point podcast. What a day. We've got the New Zealand special today. Austin's out. He's subbing out for a couple of weeks for some family stuff. The New York events are coming soon as well. But Crone's here again. Great news, Crone. You're on board, baby. It's official. Crone's part of Breaking Point. Exciting stuff. New chapter. Let's go. We got it done.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I've always been... I was here when we were... started brainstorming this thing 2 years ago?
Yeah,
2.5 years ago, maybe even. I was around, but then I kind of went to DOT and decided to learn as much as I could over there. And now I'm back home.
Back to the big leagues, baby.
Back where I belong.
Yes.
The boys. It's with the boys.
Absolutely. This is
the first time I've spoken to you since you joined. And how do you feel, man?
Good. It's good to have a job and some money coming in.
Nice.
Let's go. Yeah, you got to feed the dog, you know. We can't see the dog on stream, but there's a dog in the background. He wants to stand up.
It's cut off a little bit.
Yeah, it was all good. We're looking good. Let's go. I mean, yeah, Lion, how's it going? Good morning. Watched the Grand Prix at the weekend. Didn't watch the COD, but that's fine because
No. I was a
in.
busy man, working, designing. Yeah, wasn't around for the COD, but I've seen all the stats. I've gotten caught up, and I'm excited to talk about what I've seen in the stats. You know, I can read.
Go, baby. Yeah, oh my god. Lion read stats like nobody else, absolutely. And let's just crack on, baby, because I want to talk about maybe 7 or 8 individual teams here, starting with London. They had a great week. They're back in business, baby. They're looking like Stage 1 London. I doubted heavily that they could get back to looking like that form. And granted, they haven't beaten anyone incredibly impressive, but I mean, they beat Toronto, which is pretty impressive. You can't lie, and they beat Minnesota and Florida, both of which are decent victories. It's funny, actually, the best fantasy team right now on the Breaking Point site is just the full London team. Like, a couple of guys picked the full London team,
really,
and it's the best fantasy team. Yeah, I think it's number 1.
That's cool. That's cool.
Which is kind of crazy. I don't think it'll be for long, but you can now pick more than one player per roster. And someone just picked the whole London team, and it's the best team right now. They're all fine. 3-0.
Did they have money left over, or did it cost 25?
I think. Oh, good question. They might have had a little bit because Afro was only 5, so I'm thinking they might have had a little bit of money left over because Afro was cheap. Cool. I got him on my team.
And they all depend. The prices all depend on where they like placed in the last event and how they performed. And they were ass the last event. So
yeah, top 8. I think they beat New York, which was the key scalp that London took last time. This is the thing that, because they're kind of helping New York now, despite screwing them over last major by beating them, they're helping New York in the sense that they're taking points away from teams that New York are fighting. But I mean, yeah, like how much of a contender can this London team be? Because Zero's back to form with Gizmo in the team. They're all playing well. Their matches get harder. I think they play FaZe and LAG this week. Good voice crack for the boys. But yeah, Krona, what do you think is the ceiling for this London team, right? Because they came top 3 at Major 1. Since then, they haven't looked like that. But that's the thing. If you're New York, you're happy right now that London are beating teams that you need them to beat. But they could be a serious contender at the Major to take away placements, which is going to be key. So I don't know. It's a great storyline, their revival since Gizmo's been back. Because Illy haven't necessarily seen the same revival with OpTic.
Yeah, I guess Gizmo's the missing link that they needed. And they're back to looking like Stage 1, and I think this major, I'm not sure how far they'll make it. They could shed the beat again, but I could definitely see them making it to Sunday again, maybe. But who knows? Like, majors are so different to, like, we've seen teams dominate every stage and then go into the major and place like top 6, I think it is, or top 8 every single one.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, last time Rocker were 5-0 and came top 8, so
yeah. I think that happened in stage 2, didn't it, as well, with a team?
Yeah, it happened every stage. Came top 6. So far, every team that's gone 5-0 in qualifiers have fallen short at the major, and it's been the team that's gone 4-1 or 3-2 that's won the major. It's pretty wild.
So it's only London and New York that can go 5-0 at the moment, right?
Yeah. Everyone else is at a loss.
Imagine New York going 5-0 then getting top 6.
Oh, I can see it.
5-0 and top 6 puts them to 140. So they would have to hope that. Well, it's enough if LAG lose every series and everyone else shits the bed. But they need better than that, really. That's the thing with New York. I mean, we'll talk about them soon, but like, despite them looking close, they still need a big result and a big major. Like, they can't get ahead of themselves at all. I don't think they are.
They need Sunday at minimum, right?
Sunday at minimum, yeah. Realistically. But if they make the finals, they should be good now, which is, they'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
So I was looking at stats. Of course I was. And here's some quick stats for you boys. Zero has a 1.52 in hardpoint, which is mad. He also has a 1.19 in search and destroy. But here's the kicker. His first bloods, he has 7 of them, and he's died 0 times as the first blood. So he's 7-0 with first bloods.
Like Crim.
Yeah, that's like Crim last year. It's fucked. And then we look at Gizmo as well, a 1.47 in search and destroy. Crazy. Wow. It's like his presence on the map has allowed Zero to play the way that he wants to play in the most effective way.
Because Zero was like switching between roles for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
he was,
and now he's probably back comfortable where he's meant to be.
Exactly. And if we look at the hill time as well, Zero's getting fucking 82 seconds hill time while having a 1.5 KD and 26 kills per 10 minutes. Like, he's doing it all. And then Control is really the only mode where they're having trouble. They're 0-5 or 0-3 in Control, but they're 9-0 in every other mode. So like, they're Hardpoint undefeated, they're Search and Destroy undefeated. They just need to get that Control down, because we know that this year that's been like the killer for most teams, is going up 2-0 and then losing the Control and then falling off and getting reverse swept. That has happened so many times this year.
That's a European team thing to do as well.
Yeah. But European teams, I feel like for the most part, have always been known for their 2-3-5. Like, they've had like different play styles in those two modes that are different, and then Hardpoint they get dominated because it's slaying dominant. And so I don't know. I think like this is kind of different for a European team. But I'm excited to see what
they got the talent, man.
They do. And it's good to see that as soon as they bring back their core, that they're at the same level as they were in stage one. I just hope that they can keep it up and don't have any more distractions heading into champs. That's exciting.
To me, like, the Nasty story is the most interesting one, because like we heard so much hype about Nasty even in Modern Warfare and last year, and they couldn't get him out there. They finally did this year. It looked great, but like individually, I feel like individually he was incredibly impactful, even when he didn't have great numbers at the start of the year. But the last couple of weeks, he's been dropping some serious digits, and it's been looking like, you know, it's not Afro who's doing all the slaying in the SMG department, right? Like, Nasty's there as well, which is what we expected to see, really. And it's good that like Nasty and Pred and these players that we heard about for the last couple of years, Hydra is another example, are really hitting form, because that's what it's going to take. Like, you need your SMG duo to be able to go blow for blow with the best in the world. And, you know, you're looking at a Scump and a Shotzi, you're looking at a Simp and a Beezy, you're even looking at Vivid and Nero that we'll get into. And you're thinking, okay, if London want to compete consistently, they're going to need Nasty to keep this level up. So it's good that he's there at the moment.
Yeah, he's the only one on this team that's positive in every single mode as well. So that for your like aggressive SNG is huge. Afro seems to be having a little bit of a slower stage, like just in terms of kills.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, but I feel like he turns up, he should be fine. But yeah, London looking good.
Go, baby. I mean, look, I just mentioned Pred right there. Let's do Seattle, because they played different teams this week, but they had a very different side of the story, right? When London and Seattle were formed at the start of the year, we said that very similar roster constructions, 3 younger guys plus a veteran, and honestly, on paper, similar kind of talent, but we kind of felt that maybe Seattle had a higher ceiling. But as it turned out now, they had very starkly different weeks. Seattle went 0-2 this week, losing to Boston and New York. The New York series is revenge for New York from what happened at Major 3. The Boston series was very surprising, really, the way that they lost the respawns, especially losing. Everyone seems to want to play Bakaj Hardpoint right now, which is a surprise in certain series. But even Seattle losing it to Boston, did they lose to New York as well? I think they went 0-2 on their Bakaj this week. Pretty sure they did. Which and they've been dominant on that map, right? And Pred is still fine. Like, don't get me wrong, this guy's out of control. If you watch his POV, he still looks like one of the best, if not the best, SMGs, if not players in the game right now. Definitely top 5. But both Sib and Mac had difficult weeks, and you can't afford that on this team. So that's the thing, right? I just wonder, what is the future? Because we know that they've said it's super hard to stay consistent. In a game like Vanguard, it certainly is. It could just be Vanguard doing Vanguard things. But at the same time, I feel like they got kind of comprehensively outplayed in the matches they played this week. And the Boston loss was surprising, most certainly. And that's the thing. I remember when I was talking to Pred back in kind of end of stage 1, and he was saying that after their great kickoff result in the start of Major 1 qualifiers, they got a bit complacent, took their foot off the gas pedal a little bit. I wonder if that's creeping in again, or is this just something of a regression to the mean, where they can't expect to keep up the individual performances they've had across the board that they did at Major 3, and like they're kind of getting back into like where they should be as like a top 4, top 6 team. I think they can be better than that, but they're going to have a hard time bouncing back, because they are among a number of 1 and 2 teams this stage that are battling hard for a winner's bracket spotlight.
Yeah, I don't know. I've pulled up the stats, and it's not very pretty viewing, honestly, especially in Control. So Accuracy has a 0.99, not horrendous. Mac, a 0.79, pretty bad. Sid has got a 0.83. And then we go to Pred. My man has a 1.36 in control. He's getting 25 kills per 10 minutes. The next closest is accuracy with 17.
Jesus, what are they doing?
They usually dominate their control, right?
Yeah,
they've been so good at it. Turtle said that this is the first time they got 3-0'd all year in a control was this week.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. Wow.
And I actually did watch that match. But like, it seems like their pacing's really off. Their stats are all over the show. Pred and Search and Destroy, he's still, like, at the major last event, he was really good in Search and Destroy, and then his respawn kind of fell off a little bit in comparison to the qualifiers. And so it seems like, again, online, he's dominant in respawn and then just can't get his S&D together. But for this whole stage, it's really their hard point. They're 1-4 in hard point, but they're 2-1 in search and control. And so for them, it seemed like earlier in the year, their hard point was their dominant mode. They could always rely on the scrappy bow cage hard point to like go up 1-0 or tie the series 2-2. But it just seems like now they can't get it together and they're having those pacing issues that they had through stage 2 and 3. But yeah, I'm really hoping that they can get it together because when they're on fire, they can beat anyone. Like
they look
their response usually is ridiculous.
I mean, 11 teams out of 12 are inconsistent in this game. It's like it's so weird to watch this year when every team that's won has just looked absolute ass after they won. No, I mean, I suppose OpTic wasn't too bad, but then Ellie got injured. But every time a team has won a major, they just don't. I don't know if it's keeping their gas off the pedal or just Vanguard being Vanguard or what.
People watching VOD, baby. Like, the thing is, it's the same with the Gavutu Thieves thing. Like, they were great at Gavutu, but then everyone watches what they do, and then they look at the setups, and they think about how to break it. And you can't keep up dominance, especially in a game like Vanguard, on one map mode combination forever. And then eventually you're going to get exposed on it, and then, puts you in a tough spot, right? Like, if Seattle, they lost both Bacage hardpoints this week, I'm sure that Boston and New York thought, okay, Seattle are the best Bacage hardpoint team in the game. Let's look at what they do. Let's see where the holes are in their setups. Like, and that's the thing. That's why it's hard to stay on top with the level of coaching that some of these teams have. I think some teams don't have it, but some teams definitely take advantage of it. So I think that's maybe part of the reason. But it's also Vanguard.
Yeah. I don't know. We mention it all the time. It's just this game seems to be so incredibly mixy that there's no consistency across the board. Just sad to say, but it keeps it interesting because who the hell knows what's going to happen? Like, I would love to see New York just come out, blow everyone away, and make champs. Like, it would fit perfectly with how this year has gone with storylines.
So, then they knock out OpTic. That would be the storyline.
Oh my god, man! I was actually thinking about this because, like, if New York did make champs, they'd probably be like the 8th seed or something, and they would play like FaZe first round if that was the case. At champs, that'd be big. And even if there's the 7th seed, they'll play OpTic first round. So if New York do make it, the first round match is banger. And I was even thinking about this major, right? Because they need a good result this major, but the losers bracket is going to be ultra stacked. With like teams like OpTic, maybe Toronto, maybe like you can't afford to go down to losers and get an easy couple of wins. Like
there'd be like 5 teams just fighting for their life for champs.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. You got to give Vanguard some credit for being so shit that we actually have some great storylines. So shout out the boys over at Sledgehammer for producing this game. Because in fairness, if you look at last year's standings, it was so dull. Like, there were 4 terrible teams, Seattle, London, LAG, and Paris, and everyone else was good or great. This year, you have 1 terrible team, 1 consistently very decent team, good team, great team, and then 10 teams, who knows what you're getting most of the time.
Yeah.
So it does really create something.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie either. I'm warming up to the idea of the 8 teams at champs. Like I was always against it because I wanted to see everyone there, but now I'm kind of like, now that I'm seeing this season unfold, I'm like, wait, this is kind of makes things a lot interesting. Seeing who's going to get those last 2 spots or those last 3 spots.
Yeah, there's other ways they could do it, but
I agree with the 8 teams at playoffs, but I still believe there should be an event after playoffs that's like every single team, then the top like 20 challenger teams. But hey ho.
It's a whole different story.
Yeah, one day.
Maybe another year. One of the teams that beat Seattle this week was Boston. Big week for them. Incredibly impressive Boston this week. They needed the points. They've got the points, or they needed the points to secure themselves. But the 3 wins they've got this stage, 3-1, only lost to Thieves, puts them comfortably at 160, I think, which is certainly going to be good enough for the World Championship, right? So they're looking pretty right now at 160 points. Their performance was great. Like, I don't know if Nero's level this past week is anything that can be replicated. I don't know if it's similar to when Methods during stage 2 was dropping 1.4s every single series without fail. And Nero seems to be doing that again. You put him in a control, he's going to clutch a 1v1. He's going to get a 10 kill streak. He's going to go 35 in 15 or something ridiculous. Like, that's just what he's doing right now. So he's on an unbelievable level. And Vivid seems to have got something out of him, right? Because you'd think that there's no way a team with Vivid on is not going to have him as the most aggressive SMG. But if anything, it's still Nero, right? We talked about this at the time. Like, are Nero and like Vivid too aggressive? Are they is the pacing not going to work? But when they're frying that hard, it doesn't seem to matter. And they make everyone's lives a misery to play against them, especially on a map like Bacage. If you're playing Boston on Bacage, you're kind of faded right now because, like, Vivid is a monster at that map. It's probably his best map mode combination anyway. And then you've got to deal with Nero on this form. You don't want to have to, you don't want to deal with that. And the funny thing is actually that LAG, who they beat this week, they beat Seattle and LAG, had Vivid and Nero both on their team last year. They let both of them go. Now they're both on Boston and they got fried by them. So that's tough scenes. But yeah, I don't know, like, how do Vivid rank right now in terms of best SMG duos? Because I was thinking through the SMG duos on current form and I was like, got to put Simp and Abizi still there. Scump and Shotzzy, honestly, on current form haven't been great, but I'd still kind of think that they're there or thereabouts. And then Vivid and Nero have got to be right up there in terms of SMG duos, I think. Like, there's other ones that certainly are worthy of discussion, but in terms of raw, you don't want to play against these guys. Vivid and Nero have to be in the conversation, which is just goes to show what a good pickup Vivid has been, even though he does throw away his life sometimes in control. And that Florida are just ultra faded, but we already knew that, Crone.
Everyone knows that. Yeah, I've been waiting for Nero to do this all year. Like, I feel like he's always showed like that he can be this good, but he's always, to me, it looked like he was always moving 10 steps ahead of the other 3 people on his team. And now that he has Vivid with him, who's probably moving 10 steps ahead of him, you know, he just looks incredible. And I've been waiting for this all season. And he, to be honest, he should have been on lag last season. But I think
they brought him in. Did they not for like a match, or am I tripping? They brought Mental in.
No, that was Mental. They brought Mental, Chino.
They never brought him in, actually. Good point.
Someone else, maybe? I don't think he was an official substitute, though. I think he was an academy player, but obviously they probably could have easily brought him in. But I've been waiting for this Nero all year because he's always showed that he can do this. And there's been times where you've seen, like, holy crap, like, this guy's good. But he just wasn't on the same page, or his teammates weren't on the same page as him, and he was just moving way faster than them. And now that he is Vivid, I think this Nero's here to stay. Maybe not as good as we've seen, but he's still going to be good. And I'm happy for him because people were talking shit about him, calling him a 0.6. Like, who was saying that?
0.6.
And his stats were bad. Like, don't get me wrong, but I still feel like if you watch his gameplay, it's kind of
same with Vivid on Florida, though. You know, and put them together, like stats. Just people love to read into stats, and that's what Live's about to do.
Oh yeah, we all do. We all do.
People, like, last year, Vivid was such an effective piece for Dallas Empire. Like, when he came in and they got like 3rd and then 2nd at stage 5. Like, they went game 5 or game 9 with Atlanta FaZe and almost beat them, like, last map for the stage, which is pretty crazy. And then, like, he came in this year with Florida, didn't really fit on that team because that was like the AR team, very slow, couldn't really match his pace. And then when they did play well, it was on mixy maps like Bocage, and you know, and so he didn't really fit on that team. And then he comes in here and stats in hardpoint. The SMG duo are both positive. Nero has a 1.08, Vivid has a 1.04, and it's the ARs that are 0.9s, which is really strange. So the SMGs are leading all the slaying, they're leading all the pace, and then the ARs are kind of just picking up kills, but also still losing their ones. Pretty interesting. And then if we look at just this week as well for stats, can you guys guess what Nero's control KD is? Just put a number on there.
I'm gonna say like 1.6.
I was going to say like a 1.7, but that might just this week. Well, he had one map, he was like 36 and 15. I don't know what he was the other map. I think it was like 30 and 13. He might have over a 2, to be honest. But I don't know what it is.
A 2.21.
Oh,
this week in control.
Jesus Christ, what the hell?
Yeah, and he gets 8 kills more per 10 minutes than anyone on his team. He is frying, and he also has the least deaths per 10 minutes on his team. By a lot. My man is going insane. Their only struggles this week were in Search and Destroy. They went flawless in Respawn, dominating. Everyone's kind of putting up numbers as well. It's awesome to see. And funnily enough, it's like the one that's lagging behind is Methods. And so if Methods can find his stage 2 like form, this team might be a dark horse to win the whole thing.
He needs to break up with Cat and then go back together.
Yeah. They need a second honeymoon phase for sure. But yeah, he's the only one that's really having a few issues. He's doing good in control, but it just seems like he's not quite there. And then Vivid's having a bit of a struggle in control in S&D, but his hard points like just there with Nero as well. So in the stats front, they're looking pretty good. Not bad at all.
That's the thing though, right? Like they made some good decisions in the off season to get the team that they did, given the situation they're in, coming in late, picking up the leftovers effectively and making the best of them. And then, like, no disrespect to Capsule, but obviously Vivid is a better fit for the team. And they've managed to just find one, like, I guess, storied pro player with a bit of tenure that's done great things in the past. They brought him in, and now their team looks great, right? So they've just made a lot of really good decisions, I think, Boston. So you've got to give credit to management that is effective. Like Denz and Zed, I think, are a good duo as well as kind of coach and GM. So I think on the whole, they've done a great job with this team. I think that even if they come top 8 at Champs, that's still like a pretty decent, successful year for them, all things considered, where they were. I'm sure they want to do better, but like even making Champs, given the circumstances, is reasonable. But I think they can do better. Like they're not a team you want to face, because everyone loves to play Bakar Sharpoint right now, and you don't want to play Boston with Bakar Sharpoint. So that's the question there. One team that does like to play Bakar is Paris, and I regret to do this, but we have to talk about them. I'm really frustrated that we have to talk about them, but unfortunately they're in the news, so they have to have some airtime. Okay, they've done it again. They had good scrims. They got bodied. It was tragic to watch. They even showed a glimmer of hope. Game 1, like they won a map against Thieves, or they won a map against OpTic in the control. We'll talk about OpTic. They came out with a fire against Thieves. They were like 250, 220. I was like, wow, we could have something here, and then they got blown away anyway. Temp, obviously, very frustrated. He was saying on Twitter that he might just call it a day, quit the team, sit himself on the bench, and I guess let John come back. I feel his situation, but at the same time, he's only got 3 more series to play. Like, they're going to lose both their next 2 series, and then they're going to go out in last place at the major. So there's only 3 more series. You might as well stick it out. And who knows if they can actually do an upset, because any upset they could do is so massive for points. And New York will certainly be trying to pay off Donny Temp to make him stay on the team and give themselves a chance. But yeah, free Donny, man. I'm guessing the contract situation, Crone, is that Temp is, because he was on their team like at the end of last season, right? Briefly. So I'm guessing that they kind of got him that contract, and then this year was the 1+1. So at the end of this season, he should be a free agent, right? I'm hoping so.
Well, they let go of their whole team last year, and then brought team back.
That's true. They re-signed him.
They don't like paying people like straight away. They like to wait until as long as they can, so they don't have to pay people. Oh my god,
that is so true. I forgot they do this bullshit. Yeah. So you get the 50k minimum, but you don't even get it for the 12 months. You get it for the 8 months, because they only
get it from like
you.
January till
they only sign you right before the league starts. Honestly, what a tragic organization.
Honestly, this franchise just pisses me off, man. Like we only have 12 teams in the CDL, and one of them is Paris, who probably would struggle to win a Challenger Cup. So really, we only have 11 teams. It's like, it's such a waste, man. It's just, I can't wait till it's sold. I'm happy they're moving to Vegas, so then people will want to look at their slot a little bit more. But the team in general, I'm not gonna lie, I fell for the scrim hype, and there was a few times where I thought Paris might beat a team, and I picked them on my pick'ems, on my breaking point pick'ems, and it didn't work. They look like us. Johnny, I thought Johnny would have been a little bit better. I don't know if he was just nervous or what, but I thought he would have been a little bit better. Jimbo's still Jimbo. Tim's, it's hard to tell. Tim's obviously good, but it's hard to tell if he's doing a Westbrook and making his stats look better than they should be.
There's definitely an element of that, I reckon.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it, but I don't know, man. I hate the franchise. I hate the owner. I mean, I shouldn't say I hate him because I don't know him personally, but I just want the team to be sold, man. Like, it's such a waste of it. It's such a waste of a spot. We've only got 12 teams, man, and one of them is just useless.
What's the point in buying a $25 million spot and then treating it like it's a throwaway?
Like, bro, he has the Overwatch. He has the Overwatch team too. In the first season, they went 0 for like 30 or whatever it was. They didn't win a match in Overwatch.
Wait, was that
but this is the kicker though. They won the next year. They won champs the next year.
Was it the Shanghai Dragons or whatever? Is that what they were called?
So
he owned them as well.
Yeah,
he owns them as well.
Paris
so
winning champs next year. Damn,
maybe. I think his idea or what he did was they won champs and then what he signed. It's the same thing with the Overwatch. They're all like minimum wage players. So he signs all these like up and coming challenger players. They do really good, then he sells them. And that's what he did with Paris, and that's probably what he's trying to do here. You know, trying to pick up Johnny, trying to get, you know, Gravity and maybe sell it later. That's what I think he's trying to do, and it's just not working. I don't know if you can do that in Call of Duty with only 12
It's not the way to like profit though, you know what I'm saying? Like if you want to build a profitable company, you've got to try and be good. Like you're not going to get any sponsor interest or any fans or any good players wanting to play for you if your entire strategy is bring in players that aren't terrible and sell them on, and that's how you're getting your return on investment on 25 mil. Like that's not how it's going to work, Sunshine.
But yeah, I think they sold a few of the Overwatch players to the Envy team, the Dallas Fuel. I think they must have made a pretty chunk of change from there. But so far, that's not working for them in Call of Duty.
That's such a miracle run, though. Surely in Overwatch, they could make that happen. For being a terrible team to somehow building the team that wins. It's just not feasible in COD because there's not so many unknown players that you could actually get.
But to go from no wins to, I'm sure they won champs that year. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure they won champs that year. I think that's right, actually.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they won 0.
Like Shanghai Dragons, I think made the comeback and won next season or something.
Oh no, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. No, I'm getting mixed up between
Paris?
Shanghai. No, my bad. This is why I just follow Call of Duty. I'm getting mixed up between Shanghai and Paris.
Okay.
But I think some of that is true. I think they did sell some of their players.
Okay.
Well,
honestly, it's all good.
Should I go through the stats then to just break it down?
I don't want to know.
Do you even want to see? Is a bunch
do
of
I even? Do we want to pain the chat having to listen to this?
I'll just bring up temp, all right, and how things are looking for temp because that's all everyone cares about on Paris. He's doing good in hardpoint. Like he has a 1.12, most kills per 10 minutes, looking good. But then we look at his search. Man's got a 0.6, right? And that's the game mode where you can't really kill Horde. That's where you have to kind of play as a unit. That's where you have to get picks, and every kill matters. 0.6.
You can try.
Yeah, you can, but also even if you kill her on S&D, it's a good thing because it's the whole point. If we look at control, 0.95, not slaying like he's usually slaying. It seems like he doesn't really give a shit anymore. I think that's pretty obvious. He was looking at trying to get on a team for champs. That was like realistically never going to happen. You can't really. Well, weren't there like rumors? I saw a video that you did, like temp to OpTic. Like, what was that?
Okay, so
he's just baiting.
Nah,
you know, Red. Well, like, come on.
Nah, well, they talked about it on the flank though. Like, HECZ suggested that if OpTic aren't confident in Prelude and Illy's not coming back, then they should get temp in, which isn't actually the worst idea in the world.
Pretty bad idea.
But, you know, it turns out that wasn't necessary in the end. But it could have been an option. Like, if I was OpTic, I'd have at least thought about it.
Yeah, well, the only one positive in Search and Destroy is Johnny. He's got a 1.09. The rest have got 0.6s, 0.5s.
He's had like 2 aces and then like not done much of the rest of the map.
Yeah, and he's got a 0.6 in hardpoint and 0.8 in control. Like,
what is it with these new guys dropping 0.6s in hardpoint, by the way?
I think it's
Jimbo
just
2 real.
It's the 0.6 curse. Wait, 2 real. Oh, is he playing like real bad as well? I haven't even seen him yet.
Yeah, look up 0.2 real. It's not looking good.
I will. But yeah, the only map they've won is a control versus OpTic, and then they're getting blown out 4-0 or 0-4 in hardpoint, 0-3 in search, 1-2 in control. It's really not pretty.
You know what? Chalk it up. I've had enough.
Looking at their vetoes for the whole year, they veto everything equally just as much.
That's actually just so funny. That's the best stat you've said. They have no idea what to play.
No threads. Pick a map out of a hat.
Yeah, pick that one. They might be bad on that. But that's realistically, there's not much going on at Paris. When they sell the spot, it will be a day to celebrate because, my goodness, nothing's going on.
I don't drink, but I'm going to have a beer that day. I'll tell you that for free.
Oh, yes. I have 4 pints for that one.
Damn right. I mean, surely it's going to happen, right? At some point. But I'm just because I was theorizing, like, where does Clay go next year, right? Because Clay's been good in challenges. I think that he's mentioned that a lot of players do want to play with him. Like, he said that he's, like, had four teams or 4 players on teams or something, like, wanted to get Clay this year, but the organizations couldn't come to an arrangement on a loan, a buyout, whatever. But Clay's a free agent in like 45 days, whenever Champs ends. So Clay should, I think he'll get a spot. But the thing is, like, obviously Paris are going to be in Vegas next year. But if it's the same organization and owner and whatever, then does Clay really want to go there? But like, I feel like that. But that, I don't know, is that smart for Clay though? Because if he did join Vegas and then they do sell the spot, then maybe he could be like. But then, like, how many more years has he got left? You know, do you want to stick out a year on Paris organization in Vegas with the hope that they get bought out the year after, and then you play like one more season and retire? Like, I don't know. Joining Paris as an org is a death sentence anyway. So even if they're not called Paris anymore, you know what I mean?
I think you might make a team. I think teams could look at Seattle and make a type of team like that. You know, have like a leader AI.
It would be perfect for that type of setup.
But can still keep up. Yeah. I mean, he's probably you could build a team around him just like they did with Accuracy, easily.
Yeah. I think he's had success whenever he's had like those rookies on his side. Like we looked at 2019, he had Simp and BZ, they won champs. Had Illy and Shotzi, they won champs. Last year he had it was Neptune. No, it wasn't Neptune. It was Hydra, just Hydra, and they were good for the first half, and then things started to get a bit mixy. They fell off, and then this year he didn't really have those like 2 young guns or like a young gun on his team that was like a promising rookie, and it seems like he needed that. But
I mean, he's in challenges right now, scouting for next year, I guess.
He is. He's a smart man.
Pretty much what he's doing. Yeah.
Yep.
He's making some good decisions, Clay. I hope it works out for him. So, yeah, look, let's move on from Paris. I know that the YouTube chat right now could make better decisions than their management, so let's leave it there. LAG have also made some questionable decisions, I think. They do somehow go 1-1 this week. I thought they might go 1-1 this week, but I did not expect them to get that victory against the team that they did. They somehow beat FaZe. This is actually a big, 10 points here. We're not going to talk about FaZe in much detail, but... I mean, yeah, losing here was pretty big for New York in a bad way because they could have really done with LAG staying on 125, given they're now on 110. And Crim was saying that FaZe, maybe they weren't trying their hardest here. It's an interesting one, really, for FaZe because I don't think they threw the series, but I definitely think they were trying to expand their map pool because if you look at the map vetoes for FaZe, they veto Berlin every single series in Hardpoint, and they played it here against Gorillas. So probably they were just trying to bring that in a little bit more, which does make sense. But at the same time, if you are FaZe, there is kind of an incentive to lose the series because you'd much rather play LAG at Champs round 1 than you would play New York round 1, I would think. Maybe not if you're FaZe, because LAG seem to have your number, but I don't know. It's an interesting one for the teams that play other teams. Like, if you're OpTic and doesn't really count because they need the wins to get to winners, right? But in FaZe's case in this series, they should be good for winners at the major. They are playing a team like Gorillas that if Gorillas win, it reduces the chances the New York make champs. So I don't know. There's always an element there, but I don't know. LAG somehow Hook just went God mode against FaZe again, and Slasher dropped to 1.4. So Slasher does always turn up in big series. So I've always been a fan of his. Put him in a big series, grand finals, whatever. Slasher is probably the player that I don't know the stats on this, but I reckon Slasher's the player that maybe not statistically, but just on an eye test level, performs better in the big matches than in the matches that don't matter so much. He certainly did that here. And FaZe lose. So, fair play. It's Vanguard. LAG looked good on Bacage. Definitely, I think some cause for concerns for FaZe here, but LAG now put themselves in a situation, we talked about it last week or a couple of weeks ago, that LAG needed like 3 wins for the rest of the season to get to champs. They've got one of those wins, but I'm still not confident they can get 2 more, because on 1-3-5, I don't reckon 1-4-5 will be enough. I think they're going to need to get 2. They play London this week, and then they go to the major, because they're already 1-3. So
I don't think they make it, I'll be honest with you.
I don't think they make it either, because I think they started losers at the major and they lose and they come top 12. Beating FaZe is their season highlight, but that's kind of
their FaZe thing was weird. Like they won all 3 respawns too, and it wasn't even like a game 5 or anything.
Yeah, true.
It was super weird.
Yeah, I don't know. They just look good individually in that particular series, but then they played a team like Boston with actual good SMGs, and they kind of got fried. So, yeah, like, what's your perspective line? Because LAG played like back-to-back series there. They played last thing Saturday, first thing Sunday, and very different results and performances, to be honest.
Yeah, I do think that Atlanta are in a bit of a slump, and then Boston are obviously on the rise. But in reality, I think it's just been kind of how LAG have been all season. They don't really have any maps that they're super dominant on that they can rely on. Their vetoes are all over the place. Berlin has been like their number 1 S&D all year, but they're 0-2 on it. And then in Hardpoint, Tuscan has been their number 1 Hardpoint all year, but they're 0-2 on it. It's like the maps that they were good on, they can't rely on anymore. And then they're kind of just picking off maps here and there. And then if we look at stats for the players, it's like Spartan, Neptune, and Respawn aren't really there. And Search and Destroy, they're not there either. It's been the Slasher and Huke show. Almost said Huke. And then Slasher and his first bloods, he's 12-4, like he's killing it. But then they're still only 2-3 in Search and Destroy for the stage. And so like they have man advantage a lot and they can't win them, which is really strange because we looked at them at stage 2 and they were dominant. Obviously, they went on that 11-0 run in Search and Destroy, and now they can't even really rely on having man advantage. Their number 1 mode is Control, but that's the mode where they have the worst stats individually. And so it's like there's all these weird things going on with this team, and there's never really any like actual proof of them being, at that level that they were earlier in the year. Even with these changes with Neptune. Like Neptune's a walking 0.9 right now. He's doing his job, but he's not outstanding. And I think that they need a second SMG to be able to really run it with Hook, who's actually stepped up. Like Hook is a 1.1 for the stage, which is great. It's the best he's looked all year. Slash is obviously killing it. He's a 1.5 in S&D. Like they've got players doing things in different modes, but it's like they can't all come together and play as a unit at the same level, which is what they did once during the year. So I think, yeah, if they win 2 matches, they obviously make champs. But who are they playing in their last match?
They play London.
Okay, they're not winning that game. And then they're going to be in losers, and they're probably going to play a team that comes from winners and get dominated, and that's it. So I feel like their year is pretty much done unless they clutch up and start playing together.
They could do some game 5 wins. Like that's the thing with this team, though. Like because we know with Spart their search is good. Like they could pull off some game 5 wins. So I never want to rule them out completely because they did win a major kind of with this team. But I just don't like the SMG move, that they made. I feel like it makes their respawns so suspect. Yes, they beat FaZe in 3 respawns, but I don't know. Looking at the entirety of their stage so far, their respawns have been pretty bad. Like they got destroyed by Boston in them, they got destroyed by New York in them, and the way London are playing might well do the same thing to them. But then again, Gorillas are going to come up with the absolute fire, though. They know it's a must-win series. London, it isn't a must-win series, so definitely the different mindsets could play out in that one. Let's do OpTic, because wow, interesting week for them. They played Paris. I must say they struggled past Paris. It was not convincing. The Search and Destroy was reasonable. The hardpoint was, nothing special. They required Illy to turn up in the game 4 to win it as well on the Berlin. Game 3, they lost the control. This was like a big talking point, I thought, because OpTic at the start of the season 3-0 this series every day of the week. Most teams in the league 3-0 this series every day of the week. Like FaZe Cold War 3-0s this team every day of the week playing with their eyes closed. Like FaZe if they go up 2-0 against a trash team last year, they 3-0 it 100% of the time. The fact that OpTic didn't do that here, I thought was concerning. And I was surprised really because HECZ was making such a reasonable point that OpTic's control has not looked good in the last few weeks. And people in the chat were saying, oh, wow, they're 25-6 on the season. That's not concerning. But, okay, numbers I don't care about numbers on the season. I care about recent form. And if you're 4-5 in your last 9 control maps, that's not championship contending. So that was a concern. But look, it's Paris at the end of the day. But the New York series, they got so outclassed fundamentally in the respawns. It was honestly impressive. From New York, first of all, Crimsix, man, the system that he puts into place every year, with or without Rambo, doesn't matter, is all without Clayster. He still puts this system in place. I know he's got his own coaching staff there over now in New York, but it's impressive what he gets out of his players. It really is. Now this team has actually been formed and is good. Good, I've done it again. And it's making a run. But yeah, I mean, the crazy thing to me is that Illy turned up, but the rest of the team has been underwhelming. I was kind of on the bandwagon with ProLoot in, kind of like a Harry situation on London, with ProLoot in the team. The rest of the guys weren't so comfortable. They weren't playing their best level. And I thought with Illy back, they'll be back to dropping crazy numbers. But really, Scump is looking like their best player right now. Shotzzy has been underwhelming to say the least the last couple of weeks, it's got to be said. His engagement stats, I'm sure, Line, you'll find interesting because in the series against New York, Shotzzy had 21 less engagements than Scump, despite having a positive KD, even though he had the same damage. But that was certainly surprising to me because Shotzzy is usually the guy going in first, but now he seems to be doing all these flanks. The teamwork didn't seem to be there. The comms weren't there. Losing all the respawns to New York is not a good sign. So yeah, they're now 1-3. They need to beat Toronto next week and do it comfortably, really, to make winners. And if they can't do that and they start in losers at the major, then I think their season is chalked, personally, because if they start in losers, their mindset is not going to be good. They're going to get maximum top 6, and they're going to have a their confidence is not going to be built up at all. I think they need a confidence-building major. They need a big series against Toronto. They need to do well at the major, get top 4 probably, and then they'll have confidence into the World Championship because OpTic's a team that rides on momentum, and if they lack all momentum going into champs, I can't see them having a good result. But yeah, lots of talking points here, Crone.
Yeah, I think they're just on practice with early. They just missed out on so much practice. How long was he out for? Close to 2 months, felt like.
Prime Classic was the start of May. So
yeah, so I just think they're a little bit unpracticed, and I think going into this major, if they a good sign for OpTic, I'd be happy if they got Sunday, if they got to Sunday top 4. Anything,
I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, anything above that, it would be overachieving, in my opinion, on their current form. But I agree with you. It's not looking good, and if they don't do something this major, then they got after this major, they got 2.5 weeks to practice. I think every other team just moved so much ahead of them while Early was out, and they just missed out on so much practice and so much learning happened within their month to month and a half, whatever it was, with the other teams, and they just been so far ahead of them, and now they're just behind, and I don't see them catching up. I'll be honest with you, for champs.
Yeah, neither. We always mention it, but it's just the constant trend with OpTic. When they're looking good, something goes wrong, and then they're left behind. And then they try and bring it back, and then things aren't the same. I was looking at Illy's stats. I mean, my man he's got a 1.83 in Search and Destroy on this comeback in 2 maps he's played. He's got a 1.11 in Hardpoint. So he's putting up numbers, which is kind of crazy considering he hasn't played in ages. But I was looking at their control, and their control is shocking. They are 1-3 for the stage. Got a 0.89 across the board. The only one who was positive is Dashy. Dashy's still got a 1.2. Regardless of everything, my man is still slaying. But you also mentioned Shotzzy and Scump. Shotzzy, he has less engagements than Seth, which is so strange. That never happens. Scump's the methodical player who plays for kills, plays for his life a little bit more, and Shotzi's that aggressive entry, doing routes. But it seems he's doing too many routes, as you mentioned before, and he's not quite as effective on the map. And then, in control, it's just everything's bad. It's just not pretty. And Search, they're 3-2, but all their KDs are 1.2. Like, how is that a thing? Like, how are they going positive every map and then still losing? Like,
I guess they blew some teams out and then lost close ones. But you raised a good point there. I just wanted to kind of bring that to the Bacage Hardpoint, just because when they played Bacage Hardpoint against Paris, they outslayed them by like, I don't know, 30 kills, 40 kills, and won by like 40 points, which is just, I don't know. When you watch a good team play good hardpoint, that doesn't happen, right? Like, to me, that was concerning that you outslay by so much and win by so little. It's kind of a consistent trend with OpTic. I don't know. I just think that it maybe indicates that they're not playing hardpoint in the way that is currently the best way in the meta, which I think New York is probably evolving right now. But what do you think, Crone?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was not listening. I was on Twitter.
Honestly, you're all good. The other question I had here actually about New York was the whole Rambo situation, because Crimsix was saying like, OpTic, get in the hill. Like, he did a tweet that got like 10k likes and he was roasting OpTic and he said, get in the hill, lads. Like, you're not even playing for the time, you're just playing for the kills. And was also kind of roasting Dashy for going negative in a situation like this. So I mean, as we said, Lion, it's kind of a classic OpTic start the season well and decline. But I think this is where there's pressure on Rambo here. I gotta say, like, Rambo is pretty public facing as the OpTic coach, like much more than Sender was. He talks on stream a lot, and he was saying how the way this season has gone has been very stressful on Rambo himself, and like he's been very frustrated that in scrims they don't seem to quite have the right mindset when with Prolute, but with Illy back they kind of had it there a little bit, but there were still some bad tendencies. And he was also saying some really interesting words on the fact that like he got the team to kind of sit down and commit to being more committed effectively, and was kind of implying that like with Prolutin, they'd kind of gone off the boil in terms of their grind and their mindset and getting there on time and trying to improve every day, which I get. But this is where the pressure's on Rambo, right? From a coaching perspective, like he's got a lot to do. He's got to try and pull this team together. He's got to make sure that they're in the right headspace if they want to actually try and win something for the rest of the season. He's also got to think about the way that the best teams are playing the game and implement that into their game. Like, this is where Rambo, he's got to prove his worth to the team, I think, because Crimsix is on New York, and yes, he's got a coaching staff, but he's implemented the same way that they played Hardpoint to success last season on Dallas Empire, and he's still doing it on New York this year with a completely different team. So Crim does what he wants, and he doesn't have Rambo to kind of help him this year. And Rambo's still got Illy and Shotzi. So this is, I don't know, I think people aren't really talking about that, but the pressure is not just on the players, but it's also on the coaching staff here to turn this around.
Yeah, I think they should be scrimming, just scrim. You know, I think most teams scrim twice a day. Try to get a third one if you can. Scrim on the days off. I think most teams take off Mondays, I think. Or maybe even the weekends.
I think so, yeah. But you could get some scrims in against amateur teams, you know, they're always there.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if people are scrimming more leading up to champs, because I know that always happens, but they seem to be set on a schedule this year. Maybe even last year as well. So hopefully they do a little bit more. I think they just have to practice more. Just practice every single day. There's only like 3 weeks till champs, or something, a month till champs.
Yeah, it's like a month, 5 weeks, 4.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Boot camp, actually, good idea, because that's been talked about in Valorant lately, that there's a big tourney coming up in August, the last chance qualifier, and a lot of teams are going to do boot camps for it. And we used to see that in COD back in the day. Teams would get together, do some sort of boot camp, invite some guys over, and just scrim all weekend. That is, I don't know, is it a possibility? I think it would be interesting to see a pre-champs boot camp at the headquarters, because there's a fair few teams in Dallas.
Yeah, they could easily do that. Easily. When was the last time we saw a boot camp? They do it
Black Ops 3.
BO4? They did BO4, yeah.
Yeah, BO4. I remember the most effective one for OpTic was in Ghosts. They had like a really terrible start to the year, and then had a boot camp with like, I can't remember what teams were there. I think it was like TK. It was just a bunch of teams, like OpTic Nation maybe as well, and they came out and came third at that event. And obviously, sorry.
There you go.
Like they did it again in 2015. It didn't quite work. They were overconfident going into that champs, and so I think it would be perfect for them without the confidence now to go into a boot camp and then put up some good reps and learn from the teams around them.
Yeah, I
think
wonder if teams
might
want to do
have
that
chalked it, right?
nowadays. Yeah, you
COVID
reckon?
probably chalked boot camps for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, definitely. And maybe they're just not in the habit of doing it again, you know? And also,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, teams are funny about that stuff, right? Because, like, they invite teams, but it's like, oh, well, if we win our winners round one game and you do as well, we'll play you round two. Like, do we really want to practice against you? Like, I don't know. I think that's a secondary concern to getting good practice in personally, but I feel like teams
There's only
kind
12
of
teams, so you can be
do
picky.
it all the time nowadays. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Even just to get general of the boys over.
Yeah, they'll probably have to invite AM teams. Teams that still wait. When is their champs?
Same day, same week.
Well, then they should just get amateur, like the top amateur teams, to all come. Don't teach anything to the other pro teams, and then get those reps in. Like, why not? I think all those AM teams would love the opportunity to come and maybe do some content as well. Like,
it would.
There's a lot
I think you
to
can
gain
learn. You
from-
can learn things from challenger teams too. Like, there's a lot of things that challengers do that the pros like don't really do.
Yeah,
I just think they're a little bit more, little tiny bit more nerdy than the pros.
yeah. That's why so many
A lot of players say that actually.
Sorry?
Like Major Maniac said that, right? When he came back to Florida, that like he learned a lot. So did Clay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the amount of challenger players, the amount of challenger players that come onto pro teams and teach pro teams, like just little things, little tiny things, that change the game. And pro teams, they don't really know about it.
So yeah, Hex, do that. Get the boys over. For sure.
Another $1 million idea from the Breaking Point podcast. We've done it again. The final team I wanted to mention, we can maybe touch on Toronto quickly, actually, just because OpTic played them next week, and I know that people were saying is Cammy dropped. I don't think that's the case, Crane. Probably.
Nah, I think people were saying that. Yeah, I think that people in the chat said their fellow was baiting. Yeah. So if you didn't see it, there's like a clip of fellow saying, "Oh shit, Cammy got benched," but it's while they're scrimming Toronto Academy, and Scrappy's clearly on the team, so it's nothing. And he says in the clip that he was joking, but obviously people can take it whatever the way they want. But I don't think Cammy's been benched, and it would be for Scrappy, and they were literally scrimming him for an entire set that day.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, the thing is, Cammy's turned up lately. Scrappy would have been in by now if Cammy was playing like he was in stage one, I think.
Yeah. And they have Boston this week. They have the Boston Open this weekend, so it kind of like...
Yeah, true. You'd screw up the whole
pretty to do that,
teams if they did that. Yeah, that's a good point as well. But like, what's the situation with Toronto? Because they play 2 games, I think, this week. They play Boston and OpTic for... Oh, wow, that's tough if you're Toronto right now, because Clinics is a bit of a burger at the moment. And you can't afford that on the USMG side. So they're currently 1-2 with a 4-8 map count, which is the worst map count by a mile of the 1-2 teams, which puts them in, if they were to go 2-3, which is very plausible, then they would have the least chance, as it presently stands, of getting into winners. Like, just by way of comparison, Toronto are 1-2 and have a 33% win rate, whereas OpTic are 1-3 and have a 41% map win rate, which is big. So effectively, OpTic need to beat Toronto, and if they do, I would say Toronto are going to be in losers. And that's a scary team to have in losers, but it's not setting themselves up great for a World Championship run. And that's the thing, right? I mean, like, who did they play this week? Did they just play the London game this week or whatever it was? Or they played FaZe this week. That was it, and they got 3-0 just demolished. I even forgot about that series because it was so quick. So yeah, I don't know. I think concerning times for Toronto, to be perfectly honest, right here. Like, yeah, HECZ World Championship winners. I'm not seeing it at the moment.
Yeah, nah. I don't really have much to add on that, apart from they suck at hardpoint right now, 1-4.
Yeah, that was the other thing I was going to say. Because like at the start of the season when they sucked, or stage 2 when they sucked, it was their hardpoint that was terrible. And they got it good, and they looked good again with 12-3 in search, stage 3. But now they suck at hardpoint again.
Yeah. The only mode that they can actually like play decent on is control. And if we look at the... Bance and Kleenex both have 0.78s. And then Cammy and Insight both have 1.3s. Like, what is happening? Like,
I've never been sold on this team, I'll be honest with you. I've never thought this team was like, a top 3 team. I do agree that they're like, you could argue that they've been like close to the top 4, but it's always kind of just been mixed in that area. But I've never been like, this team's good. Yeah. I've always thought that they needed a change, and I think they're trying to rely on their being a team for so long, their chemistry for something to just work out. And I don't feel like it's going to work out. they're just going to look like this for the rest of the year. This major
and that's part of this game. Like, we have discussed that with this team all year. It's just the teamwork element that worked for them so well in Cold War doesn't translate to this game. And like, you can't be like perfect on your timings and stuff because it is so mixy. You can't have perfect setups because spawns are fucked. And so it's like, if you push out a little bit too fast, someone comes behind you out of nowhere. There's too many variables for them to be that same team they were last year. And then the fact that they can't even slay in hardpoint right now, like the most kills that they get per 10 minutes is 22 with Bance. Bance is their best slayer in hardpoint.
That's not how it should be.
That's not how it should be.
Happy for Bance, but that's not right.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, Bance. And then, Cleanx has got a 0.7 in hardpoint and a 0.7 in control and a 0.7 in search. My man's
wow, that's 0.7. Impressive right now.
Really a walking 0.7.
Wow, he was watching too much 2Real gameplay. Damn.
Holy shit. Yeah, so that's probably one of their problems, is that Bance is their better SMG right now. Oof.
Wow, yeah, agreed. I mean, like, I just wanted to say, though, because this Toronto team on their day can look good, but the way they lost to FaZe, and I saw Adam Adamu from Toronto tweeted out something before the series being like, if we can't beat FaZe, we can't win an event, which is kind of true right now. And Toronto just can't beat FaZe. They're now, 1 in 12 against FaZe the last 2 seasons. The only one was an online victory against FaZe in the Grand Finals of Major 2 last year. They lose to FaZe every time they play them, without exception, and they just don't have the talent. Like, that's just how it is. Like, I compared Toronto and London, and I remember I made this take back in Stage 1 before London and Toronto played each other, and I said that London are going to beat Toronto and are going to be the best European team for the rest of the year. Bit of a hot take, and it didn't turn out to be true, right? Because Gizmo leaves, but I think if Gizmo doesn't leave, I think that statement does hold true for the season. Maybe not. Toronto did make a bit of a comeback, but I thought I was onto something there, because I think the London, at least if you look at maybe the SMGs or the consistency of the players across the board, they do have more slang. They're a more American, like, NA built team, with like when slaying is prioritized, whereas Toronto prioritized teamwork and chemistry, which worked last year. It hasn't worked so well this year. So, and going back to a game like Modern Warfare, where it's going to be similar to this game or similar to Modern Warfare 2019, they're going to have to make a change here. Like, and I know that Toronto's management isn't going to be happy with it, because he wants to win. He's not going to sit here and be 1 in 12 against FaZe the last 2 years and think that that's acceptable. Like, they are 100%, I think, going to make a change in this offseason if this continues, which definitely creates a spicy rostermania, because Toronto's players will be sought after. And I don't know what they do, but I don't think that this roster is tenable past this season if they continue down the path they're on, Crone.
Nah, unless they win champs or major, I don't think this team sticks next year at all. And it'll be interesting if they kind of keep the European thing, or do they keep Scrappy? Because I know there was a clip of Scrappy saying that he's a free agent next year, but then Zed said, well, every contract is a 1+1, so I'm not sure if Scrappy didn't know that, or Toronto has said, no, we're going to let you go next year. So it'll be interesting to see what direction they go, whether they keep all Europeans, or, and where their team goes, where the players go. Like, do they just go to London, or do other teams look at them?
Clinics, like, for sure, get offers from Thieves. Like, I want to see Clinics at Thieves. I've been talking about that for like 2 years, I swear.
I want to see Hydra on Thieves. I think he would suit red and black.
Yeah.
Those 2 players together would be nasty.
That'd be such a good duo.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times I've said that, but it's been a lot.
The ultra aggressive SMG in Cleanx, and then Hydra's like the best methodical SMG outside maybe Simp in the league. So like those two together,
I could see Thieves like resetting next year easily.
They better do, man. You know how disappointing their seasons have been if you look at it? Like, last season, when I was looking at last year's stats, and Thieves were like 7th or 8th, and they just scraped champs. And then this year, they're 7th, and they're just scraping champs. It's like, I know that Nadeshot, even though he cares more about Valorant nowadays anyway, but I know that he's looking at that and thinking, okay, OpTic, FaZe, Thieves, those should be 1, 2, 3. That should be those should be the 3 organizations fighting for championships week in, week out. But instead, we've got New York, we've got Seattle, we've got LAG, we've got Toronto. Like, these teams are winning events, and it's like, Thieves can't even get close. They make a Sunday. Congratulations. Like, They're not going to do it with this team. I'd be very surprised if they do. It is Vanguard, but I doubt it. So I think they need a reset. I think Toronto need a reset because both teams have much greater ambitions than the level they're currently playing at. But also you make a good point about the European players because their whole coaching staff is European as well, right? They've got Marky B, they've got Flux. Like, it might not matter, but like they've kind of built their whole culture and chemistry around that. And if they get rid of like some of their players, then the chemistry is going to change. It's going to be, they might need quite a lot of changes internally, I think, Toronto. But they do have.
See them making a mixed team. Like Marky B is obviously going to veer towards European players, but I could see them getting like, European, maybe a North American. I could see it being a mixed team for sure next year. I mean, it's way too early to call. We just
it's like who do you build around? Like because I know that Cammy's been a hot property. Like I know that OpTic are going to stick next season, but I mean, I know always what's his name? Crim has talked about Cammy, really liking him. Like I know Paul X is frying right now, but if Cammy's an agent next season, like who knows if Crim stays on New York or whatever, like whether he tries to get Cammy or whether Insight stays or whether Toronto think, Clay's out there, let's give him a go, build a young team around Clay, could be a potential home. So many options, but I think Toronto are going to do something. Final thoughts on that topic line before we talk New York?
No. Oh, actually, yes. I think the one problem I think with them is when they don't have good performances, it's always like a different player that's not performing well. So an easy fix is not that obvious for them. And that's just a big problem. So yeah, they all have their off days and it's hard to even like make a change. And that's probably why they haven't.
So. There hasn't really been a viable one, Apart from like when Scrappy came in for that one match and so did HECZ, which I think, did they win both of those matches that they subbed in for? Pretty sure they did. Yeah. So they've got strength and depth over there.
I think HECZ has the #1 S&D KD all season because of that.
I'm pretty sure it's Scrappy.
Is it Scrappy now? Oh, I haven't checked.
Like a 2.2 or something.
Jesus, they must have 1 and 2 just from their one match.
It's not bad. Let's do New York because we've been talking about Crim a little bit, and man, are they doing it or are they not going to do it? I don't know, but they had a huge week here, man. I really hope they do it because they're such a team that could be a real contender at Champs. Like I really want them to be there because they can actually do something. And finally, they've built a roster that's capable of it. I'm sure they're ruining to a degree what happened at Major 3 because if they just beat Seattle, if they Game 5, Round 11, 1v1, beat Seattle at Major 3, they get top 6 guaranteed. They get 20 more points guaranteed. Right now, they would be on 130 minimum if they just won that 1v1 Game 5, Round 11 against Seattle. They didn't. They're on 110, but still a monster week for them. It must give them so much confidence to come into a week like this where you play like 2 of the top teams in the game theoretically in Seattle and OpTic and beat both of them comfortably. Like they must be feeling great. And they play Thieves next. They'll be, if they win that, they'll be 5-0 on 120 points. They still need, I think, top 3 finals guarantees it, I think. If they get finals, they get 50 points. That puts them on 160. I think that's good enough. Top 3, if they don't beat Thieves, puts them at 150, which might be good enough, might not be. But still, despite New York being so close, they need to rely on LAG choking. They need to rely on London and even Paris maybe to do an upset against either a Minnesota or a Florida. That would be big. Or both those teams just to shit the bed of the major, which is also very plausible based on the way they're looking. So I think that New York, it's in their own hands, realistically. If they just come through and have a big major, they can do it. But the thing is, they haven't even won a match at a major this year. So are they on liners? I don't know. Then again, they had very different rosters, a lot of those majors. So
they won the Pro-Am, so
story. Yeah, they're not on liners, but are they on liners for specifically when point 2 on the line? I don't know. But I think this is their time to like just show up and do it. And Crim's he's been talking, he's confident, the whole team's confident, they're taking it one game at a time. I'm bullish on this New York story, man. I've been
saying it since a month ago. I think they make it 100%. They make it. I think it's just in the script for the Cold Gods to make this happen, and then something crazy will happen at Champs. I think they come. I think they definitely make it this Sunday, at the major. I can't choose whether I can't decide whether they make top 3 or not though. But I think they definitely need top 3, right? Like top 4 doesn't really. It's probably
top 4 might do.
Might be good enough. Depends.
It depends how the tourney goes, right? Because if Minnesota, Florida, and Gorillas all get first rounded and come top 12 with Paris, let's say, then New York are good enough. New York are fine if they get top 4. But that might not happen. Because you only get 30 points for top 4, which seems like, it makes sense, but like it's not actually that much if you think about it. Because top 4 is hard.
But yeah, their hard point is, remember how at the start of the year, what was it, 0-13, 0-14, something ridiculous? It's now clearly their best mode. They're 7-1 in the stage. And they've won every single game 4. So it's every single game has gone to a game 4. They've lost one map and then they've won that, sealed it, which is amazing. Because what do you reckon? S&D or Hardpoint wins championships?
Well,
Both.
It's a good question. Yeah, both is a good answer.
S&D, but I don't know. You need both.
I think Hardpoint is more important, but I think that you need to be able to win game 5s. I don't search and destroy percentage win rate. I care less about than game 5 win rate, because my perspective is that if you want to win a championship, you've got to be good at Hardpoint, and you've got to usually win a game 5. Like you've got to have game 5 ice. And I still don't know if New York actually have that game 5 ice, because they just beat everyone 3-1. They did the same for the Prom. They 3-0'd and 3-1 everyone. And I never got to see them play game 5. And when they do play game 5, they bloody lose to Seattle at Major 3. So I'm like,
exactly.
I just want to see that from them. If they can't get over that hurdle, I don't think they make it. They're going to be in losers or something, and they're going to have like a series against OpTic for top 4. It's a must win against OpTic on LAN at their own major to make top 4. And if they get top 4, they'll make champs. And they're going to have to beat OpTic in a game 5, which they'll probably do because OpTic got choke, obviously. But like, I don't know. They're going to have it's not going to be easy for them. It's really not.
It's actually huge that it's their major as well. Like that might actually play in their favor.
Actually, might be.
Didn't they win? They won the last New York.
No, it is true. New York home series of Modern Warfare. They did.
Oh yes, you're right.
Wasn't on land.
Yeah, so I'll finish this off with just a few stats, some interesting ones. Kismet's the most effective Slayer right now in Hardpoint. He's dominating.
Have you got his hill time?
Well. Hill time 94 seconds.
I feel like Kismet gets some of the most important kills in 2 pieces on them. Every time I watch him, it's like he gets the perfect 2 pieces, like the ones that secure them like
Impact,
20 points. Yeah, like I feel like all of his kills are really important. They're not just like random shitty kills that don't matter.
That's insane. He's got the most engagements across in respawn, and he's got 94 seconds hill time, which doesn't even make sense.
We love a hill kitty.
Paul X has a 1.7 KD in search, and he's 5-0 with first bloods. So he's dominating search. And then also in control, Paul X has a 1.4. And so Paul and Kismet, those 2 guys that have come in to make changes for this team earlier in the year, are showing out when it matters. And I think that is really key, because it's not just Crim and Hydra, the experienced ones. It's the other guys that are coming in to fix this team. They're actually doing it. They're doing their job well. And that's awesome. And it's good to see that their search is also pretty strong, 3-1. It just seems like control 2-2 is a little bit scary, because we've seen the reverse sweeps, how common they've been this year. And let's just hope that they can keep their hardpoint in search at the level that it's been, because it's very impressive right when they need it.
Their hardpoint's just so good to watch. Like every map, you can just watch the arrows, see what they're doing. It's a fine art. Call of Duty can be when it's played well. And then Vanguard is unfortunately pretty much unbearable. Vanguard's modern art, it's not worth it at the time, but it can be good to watch when New York gets it right. So I don't know, big storyline. I think it's going to be hard for them. I would love to see New York just win. I'd love to see them just dominate the winners bracket, get top 3 guaranteed in winners finals, and job done. But feel free, Line, head off. And when you come back, we are going to do some week 3 predictions, and you're good to go. And we shall chat to the chat for a little bit. Continue absolutely out of control. Okay, so I think Lions will be back in a second here, but I think what we're going to do, because people requested it, is basically just predict week 3 and how we see it playing out. And I guess based on our predictions, we can think about what might happen in terms of who's going to get in the winners bracket, Crone, right?
This is going to be a spicy weekend.
Yeah,
because
there's so many
Paris. I
games.
know Paris suck at the moment, but I know teams said they want to upset some teams, and they play Mutineers and Rocket, who both need points. I'm not saying that
Two
Paris is going to
winnable
win.
games.
I mean, I put my money on them twice, and they sucked.
Yeah, it's like it reminds me of when during World War II, I think we did the predictions on COD Gamepedia, and I kept telling everyone like I'm gonna predict Epsilon to win, and I'm gonna predict them at some point, and I picked a series that I thought they had a chance in, and they lost, and then I picked another series that they had a chance in, and they lost. Like,
because in my head, I'm like, you guys have 2 wins. Like, you have to get. There's gonna be a time where you get another win. Like, I just have to find it. I just have to find it on the pick'ems, but I don't know. I tried twice in the last month, and I don't think I'm gonna pick them again.
I mean, what is it? 100 and what? 5 days, 104 days now since they won a series for points.
Yeah, they won 2 at the pro, but obviously they don't really count when you're trying to.
Even that's 2 months ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think they were against AM teams. One was
against an AM team, and they beat like Boston or something. I don't know who they beat.
No, it was Seattle. They beat Seattle.
Oh, they did beat Seattle. Yeah, that's right.
Seattle, and I think it was Toronto Academy. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, Seattle's group had 540 and Cillian, so maybe it was probably them. If it was that Strike X team. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I hope they can do something though, because if Paris go 2-0 this week, and why have I even said that? But like, you know, if they were to go 2-0, New York are loving it. So that's what I'm just telling. Like, Donny Temp is going to get handed some money under the table by Crimsix if he can put on a show this week. Anyway, Lion, what we're going to do by request is we're going to predict the matches. We're going to go relatively quick fire here, but we'll just run through, all the 10 matches of the week, and we'll just see what we think. So let's start off. Okay. FaZe London. I think FaZe bounce back. Feel bad for London because whenever you play FaZe, whenever you play FaZe after they've lost, it's usually not going to end well. But I'll get it 3-2 FaZe.
Yeah, 3-2. I think 2. Game 5.
Well, I think London, but that's fine. FaZe win that match. Florida versus Paris. Florida. 3-0.
I mean, I've lost faith in Paris now. I'm going to go Florida too.
When did you have faith, man?
Because I know you in the bathroom, we just said that dual win. Like, you can't go a season winning twice. So there has to be a third win somewhere. That's why I picked them a few times on my pick'ems. I thought that third win was somewhere in there, but now I've lost.
You wanted to get that credit hard, bro.
Like, I did. I wanted to be like, "Oh, Crone, yo, what the fuck? How'd you know that?"
Yeah.
But then I just look like an idiot. I look like an idiot twice.
People forget though. People forget quick, but people will celebrate if you get it right. So you got to take these chances.
Seattle, Minnesota.
I didn't even give my thoughts on Florida. Come on, I didn't give my thoughts on Florida Paris.
Don't need it.
Seattle, Minnesota.
I'm gonna go Seattle. I think they bounce back.
Yeah.
I think they're the better team. I'll take Seattle as well.
Yeah. All right. So the first day we have Atlanta, Florida, Seattle, sealed and wrapped. Send. Paris, Minnesota.
Paris, Minnesota.
Man, do I get to comment on this one?
I'm just going Minnesota by default, man. Like,
I think Paris have less chance to win this than they do against Florida. I think against Florida, there's a world in which like they win a Bocage map 1, and then you never know. But against Minnesota, I think Rocket just have a bit too much against these absolute garbage teams.
Yeah.
So
that's that. Paris win both their matches.
This one is tough though. The next one is tough.
Yeah, it is. Boston, Toronto. I think I don't know.
That's tough because it's kind of like dependent on how good Nero is going to be, and I think he's still going to be good. But is he going to be 1.5 good?
No, I think Boston win this. I think Boston because they've got TJ and Methods that aren't playing at the level they should be playing at, and then Nero and Vivid are clicking really well. So I think Methods and Tej step it up, and I think they get this win because Toronto seem to be in a bit of a slump. So I'll take Boston 3-1.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say that too. Boston 3-1.
Yeah, I actually agree as well. I want to have faith in Toronto, but Boston have just beaten too many good teams. And also I was thinking about ping, and like Toronto, Boston, basically the same. So that shouldn't be an issue either. So yeah, I just think Boston's the stronger team right now. So, and that would put Toronto at 1-3. And if their map count is as you say it is, they're probably chalked for winners anyway. Because even if they go 2-3 and 3 are OpTic, like their map count will still be pretty terrible for a 2-3 team.
Yeah.
So more than likely, if Toronto lose that in the fashion we suggested, they're in losers for the major, which is honestly big. And then we've got Thieves Florida. I don't know. I just think Thieves are stronger.
Yeah,
that's a tough one for me.
But
because Florida can just win the randomest games, but 2-0 isn't.
Yeah.
2-0 is not ready for the CDO. So I don't. I'll go Thieves. I'll go Thieves.
we roasted him a bit too hard today, I think. But I think that's probably justified.
I think everyone can agree with that.
3-0 Thieves, you said.
I'll go
It's
3-1.
looking good right now. I can't lie.
I think they win a random. I think Mutineers will win a random S&D.
Okay. Yeah, I'll agree. I think 3-1 LA. And that's, yeah.
Man, 0.2 fake is just... That's tough. 2 reality check. Oh, bro.
Yeah, even he knows he hasn't been the best. You go look at his tweets and he knows he's not playing the best. So.
Oh, yo, I've just looked at his stats and you are not wrong, my friend.
Do we want to read them out or do we want to save the viewers?
I don't know. I feel like he's already been roasted. Maybe save him. Maybe. Oh, you can if you want.
I mean,
he gets 6 less kills per 10 minutes than anyone else on his team in Hardpoint. He's got a 0.6. He has a 0.7 in Search, and he's 5-9 in First Bloods. And then in Control, he's got a 0.7 with the equal least amount of kills per 10 minutes. So, good start.
That's rough,
Seattle versus Atlanta. What do we reckon?
Yeah, let's move on.
Atlanta.
I think FaZe... I don't know. I think the LAG series was just a blip in the road. You know, I think it's a good. I know Austin will be sitting here right now and saying that losing to LAG was good for them, and 100%. For that reason, I think that there's no way they lose to both their bogey teams in 2 weeks. Like Gorillas and Seattle are like the 2 FaZe bogey teams, apart from OpTic, but like OpTic are kind of like on the same level. You know what I mean? Whereas. Not now, but you know what I'm saying, theoretically. Whereas LAG and Seattle have been those 2 orgs the last couple of years that have given FaZe somehow a run for their money. So I think there's no way they lose both. So I think FaZe 4-1. FaZe 4-1 and they win the major.
Yeah, big call. I will take FaZe as well in this match. Seattle just aren't looking the same as they did. I hope they can pick it up at the major, but I think, yeah, Atlanta have got this one sealed.
And that would put Seattle at 2-3, right? But they'd probably got a good enough map count. And also Florida are going to be 2-3. So man, this is super tricky right now because if this goes as we're predicting it to be, Rocker are going to be 2-3, Seattle are going to be 2-3, Florida are going to be 2-3.
It's Toronto, like this every stage, I swear to God. It's always like 2-3, 2-3, 2-3. And there's all these
and then like
tiebreaker scenarios.
OpTic or Toronto will be 2-3. We can discuss that now. But it's going to come down to map count. It's going to be super important there. There could be more tiebreakers actually.
Yeah.
Like even further than map count, possibly. It's actually plausible. So it's going to be hectic. And basically what it comes down to is these teams, it's not just about winning. It's about winning as comfortably as you possibly can. Let's talk Sunday. LAG London. This is such a big series for New York, which is funny. But like London have already blessed New York by beating Florida and Minnesota. I think they continue the trend.
This is London 3-0.
Yeah. I agree. London 3-0.
Yeah, that put London 4-1.
I will, like, if they lose to Atlanta, do they lose that momentum that they've got going? And do LAG find something?
LAG have some fight, like, LAG have to just bring their absolute game. Like, this is the series for them, you know what I mean? Because they can't, they need, like, top 6 at the major if they lose this. And I don't see them getting top 6 in the major. So, but if they win this, they need, like, top 8 at the major. So, yeah, I don't know. Big series, but I think London clutch up. They're riding high, they've got confidence. And they want to help brother Crim out, I think.
Yeah. But London, we'll take them. And then we've got Texas versus Toronto, which is really key for seeding.
This is, I don't know how to call it. I'm going last on this. I don't know how to call this one.
Yeah, these last 2 matches are insane and so important for the league.
What was the match? What'd you say? OpTic
Texas versus Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, that's tough, man. Both those teams are pretty meh at the moment. I'm going to say... Say OpTic Texas 3-2. Round 11.
Yeah, round 11. Yeah, I'll take the same. I think that's what I want, because I have no real favorite in this match, but it's just like I want Texas to go into the major looking all right, and not coming off a slump. So I'll take them.
Yeah, like Toronto. It's weird because Toronto already play a series before this, so and then they play OpTic. I think this has got to be a game 5. Like these guys just love going game 5 against each other, and that is probably the most crucial game 5 of OpTic season. But even if they win it, I don't even know if they're going to get winners, because if they win game 5, their map count is currently 7 and 10. They'll be 10 in 12. 10 in 12 probably is good enough on 2 and 3, you'd think. But it might not be, but it should be good enough. So maybe any series win gets the job done here, but it's not guaranteed. So, but I don't know, man. I think I'm going to take Ultra. I think that in a game 5 against OpTic, for some reason, there's some teams that I like to predict, and then I think about it in my head, and I'm like, well, if it does go game 5, as I'm thinking, will OpTic choke? And I'm like, probably yes. So that's kind of the mental analysis that might not be relevant here. And in fairness, OpTic do have a long time to fix up, right? They've got a good few days of practice and preparation. So hopefully they come out looking like a different OpTic. But I think I'm going to take Toronto game 5. And then the final series is Thieves New York. And this again is a banger. Like this is so good because Thieves are looking really good right now and their respawn is good. I think this is another game 5. And yeah, I think this is a big test for New York here. This is when New York have to prove to me that they can clutch them in a game 5 and actually be a contender.
I think game 5 too. I think we in the stage off for 2 game 5s, incredible matches. And I think I'm gonna go with New York game 5. I think they spanked them in the S&D.
Yeah, I would agree.
I agree as well, boys. Nice thoughts. Good thoughts. And that's the thing. Thieves in Search game 5. You could always count on them doing some stupid stuff. So
yeah,
I think New York game 5 would be a good prediction. That'd be big for New York, right? They get 5-0. Man, if they could just on demand pop a 5-0 with the schedule they had, they didn't even play Paris. Like that's something.
They had a really tough schedule too, right? Like Seattle. Who did they play? Seattle,
they played like Florida,
OpTic?
Minnesota, or something, and then Seattle, OpTic, Thieves.
Yeah, like that's a tough.
Florida, LAG.
Florida LAG, yeah. Florida LAG, purple team.
Yeah. Seattle, OpTic. Wow, LA. Yeah, but the thing about LA is just like all season, they either look really, really good or they have 0 ice. Like it's so strange. I don't think any of the players on their team have been like known for their ice, like an accuracy type player or an Ellie. Like they don't really have that on their lineup. And so it's like when it gets to the real nitty gritty, you can't really like count on them. And so I feel like that's why New York in this moment are going to be that team to do it. So yeah, I take them game 5 for sure.
Good stuff, boys.
There we are.
Well, there we are. And just to think real quick, like what would happen in that scenario? Like which teams of ours would be in losers there? So like Toronto would be in losers, Paris would be in losers, LAG would be in losers. And then who would the other team be in that situation? I think I mentioned Paris. It would come down to map count. It'd probably be Rocker. In our books. So yeah, I guess we're predicting Rocker, Gorillas, Paris, and Toronto to be the 4 teams and losers. And that's spicy because if Gorillas and Rocker lose round 1, they're out of champs. And even Toronto in that situation, like we've predicted them there to go 0-2 this week. And if Toronto go 0-2, they're currently on 150. And okay, it should be safe, but like it might not be safe. Gorillas could come top 6 or beat London and get to 155. Thieves and then Subliners could move above Ultra theoretically. Thieves, Gorillas, and New York could all leapfrog Ultra, I think, is a reasonable possibility. At which point Ultra would be 9th. So, I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's still on the cards. Anywhere up to 6th place is not safe. Boston, I think, is safe.
I can't wait for the major, man. It's going to be so good.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we close out the show? Been a cracking one. Thanks for joining us on Twitch, YouTube, After the Fact, and the podcast platforms. Love all the support. Really appreciate it. The YouTube channel's been popping up as well lately, and every view on the YouTube channel pays Crone his cash. So
Thank you.
You know, that's how we have to make it work. You guys got to show the support. Got to smash the like button. If you don't like the video, then Crone gets unemployed. That's how it works.
And I'm out, boys. I'm out.
No.
No coddle today, but we shall bring it back for sure. We had a long episode. But yeah, that's going to do it. Excited for the major, lads? Lion, final thoughts?
Yep. I just want to see New York get to champs. That's all I care about for this major. Usually I'm an OpTic fan. I don't really care about them until champs. I want to see how London do. I just really want to root for the underdogs because it's exciting. Those two teams have had a really rough year, up and down, players in and out. And now they're trying to clutch up and do something in this stage, and that should be really good.
Yeah, I think FaZe win the major. Not that interesting of a take, but I think that Drew 4 win, and they'll win this, and then I have no idea who wins champs. No idea.
I'm taking FaZe to a major 4 and then New York to win champs.
Ooh. Man, if Crim wins another ring, Jesus. If Crim wins another ring, that's gonna be crazy.
Wow.
I'll be happy to see Hydra get a ring though. That'd be amazing.
That'd be cool. Well, it's because someone DM'd me before the season began, like last year back in, I don't know, November, and we're like, who's winning champs? I'm like, it's 2021, what do you mean? But I told them New York, and then I felt like an idiot. But now I don't feel like so much of an idiot now they've actually built a good team. But they're not even making champs yet, so we'll see. That's my hot take for the day. That'll do, boys. Thanks for joining me. Thanks all for being along the chat. We'll be back next week with another cracking show, I'm sure, and we'll know what's going on, and we'll know who's in winners, we'll know who's in losers, we'll know more details. It's going to be a big week. Sunday especially is a banger, so yeah, got to tune in. Thanks for watching as always. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time.
Later, boys.